So recently we were having some serious issues opening these doors because the hinge inserts were getting pretty rotten. So I've changed the two on this side, and now I'll document how to change the other two. So I got a kit online from TMR. It includes a total of 8 sleeves for the JKU as well as an insert tool, which pretty impressive how badly I bashed them out. And it's kind of cool when you see the condition of the sleeves once they're out. So I'll show how to do the other side after what I've learned on this side. And one thing's for sure, start with the back door. It's a whole lot lighter than the front. And be careful for the front door because it will be a whole lot heavier. And I'm actually quite lucky because it actually slipped out of my hands and it landed on the Cherokee. So at least it didn't break the window. I can live with that little trail damage, so be it. So beyond the kit, what you're gonna need is a T50 Torx to remove caps. I ended up using 2 different types of chisels to get the old sleeves out. Of course, some persuasion. I used a piece of wood at the bottom of the doors so I could use the high lift to push them up without damaging the bottom of the doors. Of course, some trusty penetrating oil to help these pins out, and a farm jack. If you haven't done this before, move this seat forward so you can get to the panel that's on the back side here. Pretty straightforward. There's an electrical connection to unplug. There will be a red tab that you have to move. Press the pin, out it comes. Then there's a retainer at the bottom, which you lift, pull it out. Most people just put it in the door. This door doesn't slide turn very well. That was the common problem on the other side. We really had to give them to close them. So that's what we're going to address. So now we're going to take these off. If you have any concerns about scratching your paint, definitely put something on it, masking tape or whatnot. If you're lucky, you have the actual kit that also probably includes a magnet. You could also use a fridge magnet. These should come out pretty easily. They're not supposed to be super tight. So depending on what you're planning on doing, there is a spot in the back to put these in the trunk. These will be reinstalled later today, so just put them somewhere where I won't lose them. Don't need the tool, so I'll leave it in the vehicle. The farm jack ready, and if I want, I can already start a little bit of lubricant. So in a right world, you'd just be able to lift it up. That ain't going anywhere. So what I did on the other side, and it worked very well, place a 2x4 vertical. Jacked it up. Important thing is to have your piece under the door and not under the gasket. You want to try to protect the interior of your panel. Put a glove on the high lift. Just make sure that your jack is straight before you go too far. It's a question of opening and closing the door. So you put a little bit of pressure, it lifts up the door, and as it's going up, the hinges are going to start splitting or separating. So as we put pressure under the door, you don't need much at a time. Then you start moving the door back and forth. This will cause the pin to walk up in the hinge. It's actually doing really good right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there. I'm going to add some bedding oil. And now I'm actually going to remove the high lift. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to walk the hinge down. That gets the lubricant into the hinge. So already feels a whole lot better. But I want to take the whole door off because I want to be able to change that insert. So now, if you're lucky, just by putting your hand underneath it and turning it, it'll come up. Doesn't really want to. Let's put the high lift back underneath it. Keep a hand on the door. You want to make sure that it doesn't go flying on you. So now it's coming out quite nicely. No fun when your door goes flying. And out comes the door. So now it's a question of removing these old metal sleeves that are probably super rusty. So what I did on the other side to work quite well is I actually, with a flat edge chisel, I chiseled these out or inward to help push the whole sleeve downward. So you may want to try to do it from the bottom, but I found it was a whole lot easier to do it this way than to try punching this out from the bottom. All right, almost there. And then what's going to happen is this won't work right away, but I'll at least flatten it down. You end up smacking it all the way through to the bottom. So what I found on the other side is using another chisel to try to break the sides free, at least at a few spots. Did a really good job of at least breaking some of the rust apart, and I believe helped get them out. So if you want, you can put some NECs in there. I just ended up with a big mess because it was just smacking. I was smacking the tool and it was just flying all over the place. Not really moving, but I'm actually moving the hinge. So that actually happened to me on the other side. So I will put a little bit of NECs in there. We'll start another one and I'll come back to it after a few minutes. Time to give it another few shots, see if it moves. Doesn't feel like it wants to move. So what I found on the other side is the door that was actually moving okay. This was super easy to get out, and the one that wasn't, it was a real workout. Boom. That's out. So either this will slide right in, and I kind of want it to jam. I'm just going to use a very small file just to clean up the rust on the inside, and then this should slide right in. Repeat at the bottom. It's pretty easy to tell by the paint marking by how much it moved. So of course it just spun downwards. So I'm going to loosen these bolts, line them back up with the paint, tighten it back up, so that when I come to install the door, it's already ready. So down here, nothing's moved. We'll see what happens as I do the same process at the bottom. So if your hinges move like mine did, 13 mil socket, you can either loosen just the two top and bottom, use your hammer, use your piece of wood, tap it at the bottom, and hopefully you get it to pivot back into place. Kind of like that. You tighten them down. They weren't super tight, so it's not like you have to go crazy on them. One of the big things I'm going to do differently than stock is I've got these inserts that you can thread into one of the two hinges that allows you to help align it. So my buddy Brad gave me these after he changed to a Gladiator. So I'll install one on the top. It'll help me line it up, reinstall the door. So now when you come back with the door, different height people will have different methods of doing this. Like that. Feels really good when I close it. So I think this was a success. Reconnect the wires, reinstall the strap, reinstall the lock nuts on the outside, and I can move on to the front. So now with these new inserts, it takes next to no effort to close this now, which is a nice change from before where the door would get to about there and it would stop. At least it'll latch with very little effort. So now you start again with the cables. So on the back, on the front, the release clip is at the bottom, not the top. Pull the strap off. I gotta find my tool. The one thing I'm going to change compared to what I did on the other side after almost losing the door is I'm going to use this as an extra little safety net. Same idea as the back. You wiggle it. Hopefully the hinges start releasing in a reasonable amount of effort. Nothing. Pump it up once more. You can really see the whole vehicle going up with the high lift. I'm going to do a partial open close, open close. Hopefully that releases a little bit. See it moving. Slow and steady wins the pace. Just add some engineering oil. You can see it move a little bit. See a little bit of it. I'm going to do like I did on the other side. Push it back in, see if that'll help get some of the liquid down into the joint. Certainly turning a lot better right now. Okay, this time it's moving a lot easier. Whoa, whoa. It's all the way out now. This door is a heck of a lot heavier than the back one. So just plan for it accordingly. So repeat the same steps on the worn out sleeves. Install the new ones, reinstall the doors. If I have to, realign these. Plug it back in. Reinstall the little caps at the bottom of the doors, and I'm done. Thanks for watching.